Hi guys, welcome back. So today we've got this F80 M3 in to cure one of the biggest problems with these cars that can cause catastrophic engine failure. But before we jump into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, also a notification bell, then you won't miss if our new videos go live. So we're going to show you how you can solve this particular issue. The particular issue we're talking about is the crank hub failure. That's been really well documented, especially on tuned cars. Obviously, it's not an extremely common problem, but if it does affect you, then obviously the results can range from like a simple repair to a catastrophic engine failure. And we're going to break down why this happens and the various different solutions and how to solve it. So for now, we're going to bring the car in the workshop. We're going to start taking it apart. And then once it's all apart, we'll show you the differences with the standard crank hub, the upgraded crank hub, and all the different solutions and why the failure happens and how to solve it. So see you in a minute. Okay, so you just watched us remove the original crank hub assembly from the M3, and we've just got the upgraded one here. So we're just going to talk you through some of the design issues with the factory crank hub. So essentially the start of the issue is that this is made up of multiple pieces, and the way it was designed basically means that the only thing that's stopping the bottom end of the engine moving separately from the top end of the engine is this bolt that you can see through here, which goes through the crank hub and locates it into the crank. And then also this friction washer here. The engine can overcome the amount of torque from the crank bolt and also the friction from the washer here. The factory oil pump is on one of these, and then the top end of the valve train is on one of these gears. So this is what drives the top end of the engine, and what happens is the bottom of the engine can move separately from the top end of the engine, and that obviously leads to many different issues leading up to like catastrophic engine failure, whereby you can have the pistons touching the valves, and that obviously leads to all kinds of issues. Obviously these engines are very expensive, so this is sort of like a bit of preventative maintenance you can do to any sort of like S55 engine car, M3, M4, M2 competition and stuff like that. So the way you overcome it, there's a few different ways of overcoming it. Starting off from sort of like the cheapest way is like a capture plate, and what that basically does is it stops this bolt from loosening up or backing out of the crank. It doesn't really solve the issue, or it doesn't solve the issue of the friction of this washer getting overcome. So even though you might fit the capture plates to your engine, you're still going to have a potential failure from obviously minor all the way up to catastrophic. So the way to solve this, there's a few different ones of these on the market, and this is basically what's called like a crank hub fix. They come in like 2-piece versions, 3-piece versions, all that kind of stuff. This particular one is a single piece. So this whole assembly moves as one. And then most importantly, locating it onto the crank itself, you've got these dowels. So what we have to do is we have to tap the original crank, which sounds like it's a lot of work. It really isn't. And by tapping the crank, that allows us to locate these dowels into the crank, which means that the crank hub and the crank will always move as one complete assembly. So there's no opportunity for the top end or the bottom end to move out of sync and have any sort of like issues related to that. This particular one is an insane performance one. So it's a single piece one with 4 dowels, and they've used it up until like 1,000 wheel horsepower. So it's well over engineered for this particular customer, but it's definitely a piece for safer mind. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch other videos of ours that YouTube thinks you'll like, then click up here. If you'd like to watch some other videos that we have in the same playlist, then click here. And obviously if you enjoyed the video, then we really appreciate if you gave us a subscription. And then obviously you'll be updated when other videos of ours go live, and you can do that quite easily by clicking here. Hope to see you soon.